Hi you guys, this video is going to be a little bit different for my channel, but I get asked so often about my experience on a GLP-1, so I thought it would be good to just sit down and kind of include all the information in one place. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking all about how I lost over 60 pounds in 1 year on a GLP-1 medication, and this is just going to be about my real experience, what changed, what side effects I had, how the process works, and where I'm at now. Obviously, I am not a doctor, so please do not take anything that I say as true medical advice. Please do your own research and know that I am just sharing my personal experience. And I also quickly wanted to mention that this is probably the only video I'm going to be doing on this topic. I am not a weight loss influencer. My niche is actually in fashion and beauty and Amazon products. So if you're interested in that sort of content, then definitely stick around and subscribe to my channel down below. But I just wanted to say that because I know I'm probably going to get requests for like what I eat in a day videos or additional GLP-1 videos, and I just don't want that to become my niche here on YouTube. So I hope you understand, but I will answer any additional questions that you have in the comment section. And I'm also going to have this video broken up into timestamps so you can kind of jump around and find whatever information you're looking for. So I hope this is helpful. And without further ado, let's dive into it. So I want to start off with my why. This might not be something that everyone is interested in, so feel free to jump ahead if you really don't care why I started, but I do think it's important to go over because everyone kind of has a story, and I just wanted to share mine. When I was growing up, weight was really never an issue for me. I didn't really think about it. I kind of just ate what I wanted to, fairly healthy, what my parents would cook for dinner. I never really had an issue with it. I was always involved in sports in high school, and so I always maintained a fairly healthy weight. I will say, as a woman, especially going through high school and being around so many peers that just look different than you, I think it's always hard. I just kind of think that comes with the territory of like growing up, experiencing puberty, all of that. So of course I had those types of struggles that I think all kids have, but for the most part, weight wasn't really an issue for me. And then I went to college and I wasn't doing sports anymore, so naturally I gained the freshman 15. And I went to college at Virginia Tech, which was ranked #1 in dining across the entire United States several times over the last 20 years. So as you can imagine, I was really enjoying all of the crazy food that they have on campus. So I did gain a little bit of weight my freshman year and throughout college. And I think that was mostly just because I wasn't really doing sports like I was in high school. So that definitely had a major effect. And that's kind of when I started having issues with my weight, I guess you could say. For me, I've never really had a problem maintaining my weight, but once I do gain weight, it felt very difficult for me to lose it unless I was literally becoming obsessive and putting all of my time and energy into losing weight, which was very overwhelming. So a lot of times I would either be obsessive about it or not really do it at all. For example, I got engaged my senior year of college to my husband Patrick, and after college, I kind of went on like a very obsessive diet for the wedding. I mean, I was going to the gym every single day, waking up before work, doing all of that, tracking every single calorie that I was putting in my body. I think I even did keto for a while. I was just very obsessed with it, and I did lose a lot of weight before my wedding. But the problem with that is after my wedding, I was completely burnt out. I did not want to track another calorie. I was like, okay, wedding's done, you can relax. And I really relaxed way too much. And once again, once I gained that weight, it felt very difficult for me to lose it, especially at this point in my life because I had been so obsessive before my wedding. I just completely lost the desire to work out, which is really sad because that is something that I did really enjoy doing at one point in my life, especially weightlifting. I felt like that was very fun for me and empowering. Then fast forward a little bit and I got pregnant. And shortly after finding out about my first pregnancy, we were told at our first appointment that the baby did not have a heartbeat. So unfortunately, at that point, I had a miscarriage with my first pregnancy, and that was just something that I was honestly not prepared for. It really did send me into a full-on depression. It's kind of weird looking back now because I think when you're in the moment, you don't even realize how much you're hurting until you're a few years down the line and you can look back and be like, wow, I was so hurt and I was so broken, and I really let that affect so many areas of my life. And that is exactly what happened. And me being really down and depressed like that, once again, I kind of just like lost my desire to really do anything at all. So I really just wasn't prioritizing myself like at all in any aspect of my life, self-care, sleep, movement, eating healthy, like nothing. Honestly, at that point, I was focused on surviving. So I was not really keeping track of my weight at all at that that point, I did not really care, to be honest. I had a DNC surgery in February and I was not ready to try again for a baby until June or July, I want to say, and that is when I got pregnant with my daughter. Obviously, you have a little bit of pregnancy weight gain. I really didn't gain that much weight, like nothing abnormal. My pregnancy was very healthy, which I'm so thankful for, obviously, given the circumstances. And then, of course, once I had my daughter in February of 2023, you go into the postpartum season. And honestly, I was really good for postpartum. Like, I felt good emotionally for the most part. But once again, I was just focused on surviving. It's my first baby. I'm learning all these new things, and you're hungry all the time because you're breastfeeding. So I did gain some weight postpartum as well. And I tell you all of this backstory just to kind of explain the periods of my life that had a little bit of weight gain here and there that kind of added up, that felt impossible to lose without changing my entire life. And yes, I did try multiple times. So then fast forward to 2024, that is when we start hearing more and more about GLP-1 medications, semaglutide, Ozempic, and all of that. And I did so much research, you guys, because my husband is very into health and wellness. He's like a gym guy. That is like one of his passions. And I knew he might be a little bit judgy about it, honestly. Not in a negative way, but just like concerned for my health. So I wanted to be sure that I did all the research necessary. So I did. And I believe it was May or June of 2024, I ultimately made the decision to get on a GLP-1 medication. So now we'll kind of dive into the program that I use to get my medication, because I know that is like the number one thing that people want to know. How do you get it? How much do you pay? What's it like? How do you inject it? All of that stuff I'm going to go over right now. So the online distributor that I use is called IVRX. I have used them from the very beginning. I've never had any issues with them. I love their service. So I'll kind of walk you through what it looks like. You're going to go to their website, do the sign up process. They'll ask you a bunch of questions about yourself and your health. When I signed up, you had to include full body pictures, I guess, just to make sure you weren't lying about your weight. I'm not sure if they still do that, but I'm just telling you my experience. At the end of the questionnaire, you're going to come to a checkout page as if you were going to buy the medication. So this is kind of assuming that you are going to be prescribed the medication. You're going to go ahead and prepay for it, so to speak, or at least put your credit card information in. So I guess now I will go over pricing, which I feel like is the number one question. And you guys are in luck because the current pricing is actually a lot cheaper than when I started. I think when I started it was $295, and now on IVRX you can get a semaglutide medication for as low as $175 per month. And they even offer a lot of really good promos now. Plus, I have a coupon code with them. So as you know, I have loved IVRX ever since I started using them. So I actually signed up for their affiliate program, and now I have a coupon code, which so many people asked me about when I first started sharing IVRX, and I didn't ever have one until recently. So I'm really excited about that. Of course, do your own research, sign up with whoever you want if you do end up getting on a GLP-1, but just wanted to throw it out there. If you use IVRX, I have a coupon code if you want to use it. So let me break it down because there are a few different options. Option number one is that you can choose to just pay month to month. And actually right now on IVRX, you can save $30 on your first month. So say you went with a semaglutide, this would be the starting price, and then you get $30 off your first month right now. And if you use my coupon code, this would be your final price for 1 month. I just want to break that down on the screen because like I said, this is the number one question, is how much does it cost? Which I get it, it's a big investment. If you know you want to try it for more than a month, you can save even more money by doing one of their packages, and you can use my code on the packages too. If you do a quarterly plan, the starting price for semaglutide, which is what I'm on, is $195. So if you do $195 3 times and then use my $50 code, this would be your total. And for the 6-month supply of semaglutide, your starting price is going to be $175. So if you do that 6 times and use my $50 code, this is your final price. My code is just going to be KLOVE50. So I will put that on the screen right here. If you end up using it, if you go with IVRX, that'll save you a little bit of money. And I'll type all of that pricing information out in the description box because I know it can be a little bit confusing. So if you need to refer back to something, it'll all be down there. Now, once you're done with all of that, the questionnaire and checking out, your information will be sent to a doctor, and they will usually reach out within a couple days and let you know if your prescription has been approved. If it has been approved, they will ship your prescription within a couple days. And this will be the same doctor that you talk to throughout your time on the medication. So if you ever have any questions, you can easily just message them on the IVRX website or the app. I don't really use the app, but I do think they have one. Then of course you will receive your medication in the mail. You'll get a little vial and all of the needles you need. You'll get alcohol swabs to kind of clean the area before you do your injection. It does come cold and it needs to be refrigerated. So be sure you do that. And they will give you detailed instructions on how to do your injection, and I believe they even have a video. I remember watching a video on how to do it for my first time. So it was really easy, and I don't think that it hurts that much. It kind of just feels like a pinch, honestly. Sometimes it'll be a little bit sore, like right where you injected, but that only really lasts a day. As for where to do the injection, they will go over that in all of your detailed instructions. I usually do it in my lower stomach, or you can do it in your thigh. A lot of people say doing it in your thigh rather than your stomach helps with nausea a little bit, so that's always an option. But the main thing is just to alternate sides every time you do your injection. So if you did the right side of your stomach one week, you'll do the left side the next week. And if you do want a place to like keep track of your shots so you don't forget, you can do that on the IVRX website. So now I want to jump into my specific timeline and results. And I went back and looked up exact dates. So I signed up on IVRX on May 6th, 2024. And I actually got a message and my prescription that very same day. So I don't know if it is still that fast. I think on their website it says a day or two, but that was just my experience. And my prescription was out for delivery on May 10th. So I kind of already mentioned, but I started out on the semaglutide medication and it was $295 at the time, and I did 0.5 milligrams. For me, I honestly noticed it working almost immediately. Like within a couple days, I could definitely see a decrease in my hunger. I just wasn't really thinking about food much at all, and I definitely ate a lot less. I know it's not the same for everyone, but that's how it went for me. So I was really hopeful at that point that I was going to start seeing results, and I did. I did lose weight the first couple weeks, honestly. I think I lost just a pound or two the first couple weeks. I had probably lost 5 pounds the first month. Then moving on to month 2, I did my follow-up on IVRX and I did increase my dose to 1.0 milligrams. That is about the time that I became an affiliate for IVRX, and they did kind of mess up my order, which I think is just unique to the affiliate program, but they sent me like a 3-month supply all at once. So I did stay on 1.0 milligrams for quite a while. I want to say months 2 through 7, it was all 1 milligram. And this dose really worked for me. I was vibing, I was losing weight consistently, I was happy, I was healthy, I was doing fabulous. And I didn't really notice a crazy increase in side effects when I increased my dose from 0.5 milligrams to 1 milligrams. I usually would have exact numbers, but I actually got a new smart scale during this time. So all of my data from like May to October was deleted. The last weight that I have recorded was on October 2024, and I was 184 pounds. So from May to October, I had already lost over 20 pounds. So I was really happy about that. And by the end of the year in 2024, I was at 174. So then moving into 2025, I did up my dose to 1.5 milligrams. And honestly, I don't even know why I did that. I feel like I just did it because I thought that is kind of like what you're supposed to do. But looking back, I wish I didn't up my dose because the 1 milligram was still working really well for me. And I did notice more side effects moving up to the 1.5. I took the 1.5 milligram consistently until probably May of 2025. And at that point, I was down to 150 pounds, which was my lowest weight. And I just couldn't believe it. Honestly, I never really thought that I would get to that weight. So I was super happy about that. And at this point, I kind of started microdosing almost. I feel like I would still feel the effects of my medicine for a couple weeks at a time. So I would do it 1 week, skip a week, and then do my injection again the next week. And I'll be honest, this was not discussed with a doctor. This was totally just me being chaotic and doing what I want to do. So I don't recommend that. I would absolutely do what your doctor tells you to do. Once again, just sharing my personal experience. Then around August, I ended up taking a full month break, and there really was no reason behind this other than I was just really busy and I kept forgetting. Fast forward to October, I tried to do the 1.5 milligram again, and for some reason, I just had a lot of side effects. Like I was really nauseous. It did not make me feel good, so I didn't take it for a couple more weeks. I tried a little bit of a lower dose in November, and it was a bit better, but I did still have some nausea, and I just kind of decided to take a break from it until the new year. So that is what I did. I would say I was consistently on a semaglutide medication from May of 2024 to July of 2025. That was super consistent, and I got down to 150 pounds. And then from August to December, I wasn't really taking it super consistently. And I always get a lot of questions about this because people want to know, did you gain weight when you weren't taking it consistently? And I'm happy to say I can answer that for you. So in the first 2 months, no, not really at all. I would say I probably gained 5 pounds back, but that's not really alarming because I feel like especially as women, our weight fluctuates a lot. So I was really pleased with that. And I still felt the effects of the medication for almost a month, even when I wasn't taking it. I still had a much smaller appetite. appetite. I didn't have as many hunger cues. I didn't have the food noise for a really long time. Now, during the holiday season, I did see a little bit more weight gain, which I think is normal. We're just not outside as much, not moving as much. And of course, there are like a million different holiday functions that you're going to and eating yummy food. So I did gain probably 8 or so pounds during the holidays. So I would say total weight gain was maybe 10 to 15 pounds. But honestly, I haven't really seen that in my clothing. I'm still wearing the same clothing size that I was when I was at my lowest weight. I'm still in a size medium. So to me, it hasn't been like a significant amount of weight gain to make me feel like I was going to jump back up to my starting weight. As for right now, it is January 2025. I did take a dose about a week ago and I still had a lot of side effects. So I actually am going to message my doctor and try to go back down to the 1 milligram. I think that is what worked best for me. And that is kind of where I felt most comfortable. So that's kind of where I'm at now, but I do want to do it consistently throughout this year. Stay on the 1 milligram for a while. And once I reach a weight that I'm comfortable with, maybe then I could just do a microdose. And IVRX does actually have a microdose option. So if you just want like a little teeny tiny amount, they offer that now, which I think is really cool. So I will put the link for that down below too. And I think I kind of already answered it, but another one of the most asked questions that I get is, will this be a long-term thing? And I think that question is just really dependent on the individual. I mean, it really depends on your lifestyle, your eating habits, your goals, and so much more. As for me, I'm just going to use it as long as I feel like I need it and as long as it's not affecting my health in a negative way. I make it a priority to get checkups with my doctor, which everyone should be doing anyways. Get blood work, check your labs, all of that sort of stuff. Make sure you are healthy and it's a good option for you. And if it is, I don't see why you shouldn't take it if you need it. Now, jumping into specific side effects, this is probably the #1 most asked question. And I know I've kind of already touched on the fact that I did experience side effects. So what the heck were they? Of course, we all pretty much know the positive side effects. You have weight loss. Of course, clearly I lost a lot of weight. I had decreased hunger cues, less food noise, way less inflammation. Oh my goodness. Like I had so much inflammation in my face. And once I started on a semaglutide medication, that greatly decreased. Obviously, I was able to eat smaller portion sizes and all of that good stuff. As for the negative side effects, I feel like the most common one is nausea. And I definitely experienced nausea. I will say when I started out at the 0.5 milligram dose, it was very manageable. It wasn't anything crazy. I could still function day to day and it honestly got better in a couple weeks. Now the nausea did come back whenever I increased my dose. So I had a little bit of nausea when I went from 0.5 to 1 milligram. Again, though, it wasn't anything crazy. And if you are really struggling with it, you could always try to get a prescription for Zofran. That's something that your PCP would usually prescribe. And if they won't, or you don't have a PCP, you can easily find an online doctor service to prescribe something like this since it isn't a controlled substance. I actually did that. I can't even remember the online website I used, but I will try to put it in the description box. And it was super easy and it just helped to know that you have something on hand that you can take for nausea if you are experiencing really bad symptoms sometimes. When I went up to 1.5 milligrams, that is definitely when the nausea was at its worst, along with many other side effects, which we will get into. Another symptom that I had that I feel like is not talked about enough are these weird, gross sulfur burps. And I know that sounds so disgusting, and it is. That is honestly probably the thing that bothered me the most were those burps. It only lasts like a day or two, but oh my goodness, it was so frustrating. It's like they would not go away, and it's just kind of like this stale taste in your mouth, and you just like keep burping up air, and it like tastes like the medication. I don't know. It's not very pleasant, I'm not gonna lie, but I will say that was only in the very beginning when I first started, and it only lasted like a day right after I took my dose, and then the rest of the week I was fine, and it completely went away after like a couple weeks once your body gets used to the medication. Another thing that you'll definitely notice is just food sitting in your stomach longer. I mean, that is literally what the medication does. So you're just gonna kind of have a heavy feeling in your stomach, especially the first couple days after you do your injection. And again, as with everything, that is more so in the beginning as your body adjusts to the medication. Once I was kind of like vibing with my 1 milligram, I really didn't have any symptoms at all. So just keep that in mind as I discuss these. Another one is hair loss. I get asked about this all the time, and unfortunately, it is true. I did experience hair loss once I got on the medication, and it's hard to say if that is because of the medication or because you're not really getting the nutrients you need from food. And I'll be honest, I am not like the world's best eater. I'm a very picky eater, so for me, it could go either way, but I did want to mention it. I did have a little bit of hair loss. I mean, I still have a lot of hair. Like my hair is really long. It's nothing crazy. I do have extensions in, but my extensions are here, and then this is my real hair. so it's not too much of a difference, but I just wanted to mention that. And then another thing is like my sense of smell was kind of weird. I feel like I would smell chemical smells a lot more. Anything that kind of had the same scent as the medication in the vial, which almost smells like alcohol or something. I don't know. I feel like I would just smell that everywhere, whether it was like my toothpaste or cleaning supplies, anything like that. I was just a lot more sensitive to it. That is so random, but I just wanted to share it. I also do think that I'm a little bit more tired when I am on a GLP-1 medication. Now, the one from IVRX does include a little bit of B12 in the injection, which is actually supposed to combat the sleepy feeling. So it is nice that that's included, but I definitely still think I was a little bit more tired when I was on the medication. But I'm also not a coffee girl. So if you drink coffee every single day, I doubt you'll notice a difference, but I don't drink coffee every day. So on the days I didn't have coffee, I was a little bit more tired. When I went up to the 1.5 milligram dose, I did experience more severe symptoms. And I say severe in quotes because they really weren't anything over the top where I had to go to the doctor. But in my opinion, they were just a lot more aggressive than anything in 2024. So I did want to mention that because I just want to be honest, lay it all out on the table so that you guys are well informed. Once I went up to that dose, like I said, I did have the nausea right after I increased the dose, but even more so, I just feel like I had a lot more gastro issues. My stomach was very, very sensitive to a lot of foods that I would eat, specifically anything with a heavy amount of oil or anything that was like directly fried. So if you were doing like a home cooked meal and you breaded the chicken yourself and you immediately fried it in oil, my stomach would be very sensitive to that. Like it would take me out for like 24 hours. And for some reason, I didn't really have the same experience when eating other fried foods like from fast food restaurants, which made it kind of hard for me to distinguish what it was because it wasn't all greasy or fatty foods. It was just foods that were directly fried in oil. But I guess because fast food is more processed, that didn't really affect me as much because of all of like the fake stuff in it. But for whatever reason, I just had a very specific issue with large amounts of oil or grease. And every single one of us on this earth has experienced some sort of stomach issue in your life. We all know what that feels like, whether you got food poisoning or just something didn't agree with your stomach. But the difference on a GLP-1 medication is that everything is so slow to digest that that stomach ache is going to be 3 times as long. And again, this is not something that I really noticed until I went to a higher dose. So I would be very mindful in just jumping doses. In my opinion, I would not do that unless you really do feel like you need to and the medication is no longer working. And even now that I'm trying to get back on the medication, I'm still having a hard time, honestly. So if you ever do happen to take a large break from the medication, I would not recommend starting with the same dose that you were already on. If I did it all over, I would have gone back and gotten a new prescription for the 0.5 milligram to start again. Okay, next section, let's talk about what to eat on a GLP-1. Again, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor, but a lot of you guys ask, what do you eat? So I'm gonna tell you what I eat and what I think is most important. Number one, you have to eat. Your symptoms and your nausea will get worse if you do not eat. So even if you don't feel like it, especially in the morning, please just eat something, and bonus points if it's protein. Protein is going to be your best friend on a GLP-1 medication. A lot of people will tell you this. You might not even be losing weight because you don't have enough protein. Protein is essential. So what I try to do is immediately when I wake up, I eat some sort of protein or even like a bigger meal. And if I don't feel like eating lunch, then maybe I could skip lunch and then just eat a really nice balanced meal for dinner. Or you could eat multiple small little meals throughout the day. I think that works well. So for breakfast, it really varies for me. If I'm doing a bigger meal, I'll do some eggs on a little bagel thin, some cream cheese. That's really good. One of my favorite meals. If we're doing more of like a family breakfast with my daughter and my husband, I'll maybe do eggs, some protein waffles, and fruit. I've also done just a sliced apple and one of those single serve peanut butter packs. That's a really good option if you want something smaller. And then if I am just running out the door and I do not have time to make anything, I will grab a protein bar, of course. I'm sure you guys all already have your favorite protein bar out there. If you don't, my favorite are the Built bars. I think they have really good flavors. They have a high amount of protein. Some protein bars out there are only like 2 grams of protein, and I'm like, no, that is not enough. The Built bars are usually about 15 grams, which I think is a decent amount. I also have protein waters that are really good. If you don't feel like eating anything and you just kind of want to drink your protein, that's a good option. They're in really easy to drink berry flavors. It is a little bit of a thicker consistency, but it's still a good way to get in a little bit of protein while not eating a ton of stuff. Of course, you could also do protein shakes, Fairlife shakes. Fairlife also has a protein milk that is good if you just want to add a little bit of that into your coffee instead of regular milk to get some more protein. There are tons of ways to add protein to your diet, so you can do more research on that, but those are just a couple of my personal suggestions. For lunch, I usually do a Factor meal. If you watch my channel, you know I love Factor. I talk about them all the time. I think they're really good for like pre-portioned meals. So if I am doing a bigger lunch, maybe I skipped breakfast, that is what I will do. If I just want something a little smaller, I'll prep a little snack tray that I can have in the fridge that just has cubed cheeses, maybe some little pepperoni or whatever sort of like lunch meat you want, maybe some crackers, veggies, fruit, anything like that. And then for dinner, I would just say any like balanced home cooked meal is going to be best. And always try to eat your protein first because you are going to get fuller faster. So it's best to fill up on that protein, which is really good for you, rather than a bunch of carbs or anything else. I still eat carbs, but I will say they definitely feel a lot heavier on your stomach. So keep that in mind. And if you want to avoid any stomach issues, I would definitely stay away from fatty, greasy, or fried foods. A lot of people also ask about working out. Did you work out while you were on the medication? And yes, I did at the beginning of the year, but then when I get really busy, I will say that does kind of like fall off of my routine. I do want to get better about that, but I will say the one thing that I consistently do is walk. I love to take walks, and I honestly think that is the best thing that you can do on this medication. Just any sort of light movement that you can do every single day. Now, when I first started on the medication and at the beginning of 2025, I was really into working out and I really kept up with it for a few months very consistently. I was doing weight training, which, like I said, I've always really enjoyed. My husband is very into weightlifting and all of that. So he actually made me a full workout plan. I will put it up here in case you guys just want to screenshot and use that. You might have to look up what some of the exercises are, but I felt like this was really easy to follow and that worked really well for me. I think it is important to prioritize some sort of weight training when you're on a GLP-1 medication, just so you don't lose a significant amount of muscle mass. Next, I just want to touch on some random things that I either didn't expect getting on the medication or that I just noticed throughout my time on it. Number one is food noise. I feel like you hear so much about food noise. If you don't know what food noise is, it basically just means that you're always thinking about like the next thing you're gonna eat, even if you've just ate. I don't think that I had a ton of that before I started, but I will say being on a GLP-1, you do think about food a lot less, especially if you're busy and doing other things. I mean, it is just not on your mind. It definitely made thinking about food a lot more quiet. And obviously when I started the medication, I knew it would make you fuller faster, but I didn't realize how significant that would be. I mean, you get to a point when you're eating that you just hit such a wall. It's almost like I cannot eat another bite or I will actually bust. It's such a weird feeling, but I do think it's great because it's almost like there is nothing that would make you overeat. For example, if you are always the type of person that like doesn't want to waste your food, so you eat all of your food because you don't want to be wasteful, being on a GLP-1 medication, you're not going to be able to do that. Like you will hit a wall and you will not be able to eat anymore. And if you still don't want to be wasteful, it's actually great because then you can just like take half of your meal home and then you have dinner for the next night. And this also applies to alcohol. So you will probably drink a lot less if you are on a GLP-1 medication. Alcohol just makes you feel so full if you have multiple drinks. So I found that it wasn't even really enjoyable to drink very much anymore. I mean, I definitely would still have a glass of wine or one beer or whatever it was, but I just didn't excessively drink. I usually didn't have multiple drinks, especially if I was out to dinner and eating at the same time that I was having a drink. So that's kind of an added thing. If you are trying to decrease your alcohol intake, this could be a good option. When I first started the medication, I had this weird idea in my head that it would maybe make me eat healthier because I was just going to be eating for fueling my body and not for pleasure. But I will say that is not the case. It did not make me just like naturally want to eat healthier. I still was just as picky as I was before I started a GLP-1. So it's not magic. It's not going to magically change your eating habits. If you want to change your eating habits, you will have to do that. Another positive thing that I noticed, even after taking a break and being off of it for a couple months and even gaining about 10 pounds, I still feel like I get full way faster than before, which is great because I eat smaller portions even when I was getting my hunger cues again and I kind of of like felt completely at baseline, like I had no semaglutide left in my body. Even at that point, I still ate smaller portions. So that was a really big plus. It's almost like it kind of shrunk my stomach a little bit when I was on it and eating smaller portions. And then I also just wanted to quickly mention the stigma or opinions that you might get when you're taking a GLP-1 medication for weight loss. The truth of the matter is, no one really cares that much, and if they do, I think that's weird. At the end of the day, it's your body, your health, your decision. There is so much research out there on GLP-1 medications. It is not new at all. People have been using this for years, specifically for people with diabetes, but it is the same medication, and for some reason, people just act like it's brand new and there's no research on it and how it'll affect you long term, but actually there is. So with that being said, I would do your own research, but I also wouldn't let other people dictate your decision on what you do with your own body and health. So what does life look like now? It has been a year and a half since I first started a GLP-1, and I can say it has definitely changed my life. Obviously, I mentioned that I've lost about 60 pounds since I first started. I feel better. I have so much more energy. I don't get as tired as quickly. I just feel so much more confident when I'm out and about. I don't worry so much about eating and what I'm gonna eat and calories and just anything like that. Like, I just don't worry about it. I'm really happy with where I'm at right now, honestly. I just kind of want to maintain and not get back to the place that I was. It's just so great feeling like your old self again. I mean, that has been the best thing for me and just my overall happiness. So for me, I think this was such a great decision. I'm so happy that I did it. I would absolutely do it again. I feel like now I can really eat whatever I want in moderation and then also lean into foods that actually fuel my body and don't make me feel sluggish. Obviously, I said that I would definitely do it again, but I will say if I did do it again, I would definitely do a couple things differently. So here are my biggest tips if you are ready to start your journey on a GLP-1 medication. A lot of these I've kind of already went over, but this is just in summary, the biggest things that you need to keep in mind. Number one, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to use the GLP-1 medication as a tool to jumpstart your weight loss and then change your eating habits while you're on the medication for long-term success. Another one of my major tips is just to eat first thing in the morning, eat all the protein that you can get. I didn't even mention this, but water. Water is so important when you're on a GLP-1 medication. It's important anyways. And aside from just water, you're also going to want to drink a lot of electrolytes. You can do this in a lot of different ways. I use Liquid IV. I also have a code for them. I'll put that down below if you are interested. But there are so many different electrolyte drink options out there. There's Element, which I have tried Element, by the way, and it's like very, very, very salty. So keep that in mind. But you can get electrolytes on Amazon. You can do Gatorade, all sorts of different options, but drink your electrolytes. And then the last thing is just to be consistent with dosing. Do as I say, not as I do. Stay on your dose, talk to your doctor, only do what your doctor recommends doing. And if you do happen to take a break for whatever reason, please don't start with the same dose you were already on. Always restart your dose, do everything the safest way possible, and I think that you will have a very enjoyable experience. If you guys have also been on a GLP-1 journey, let me know your story in the comment section down below. I would love to hear it. And of course, if you do have any additional questions, you can leave them down there as well, and I will be sure to answer them. But yeah, that is it for today's video. I really hope that it was helpful, and I'm happy that I can finally answer all of your questions and put it in one big video. So for everyone who's been asking, hopefully this is exactly what you were looking for. But anyways, thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Like I said, if you're not already, subscribe to my channel down below, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!